The world is changing faster than ever. Power isn't what it used to be. It's not just about armies, nuclear weapons, or money anymore. It's about perception, control, and charisma. And in the middle of this power storm, two men are quietly, and not so quietly, shaping the destiny of billions. Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, two leaders from two democracies, each larger than life, each armed not just with authority, but with an unshakable belief that they alone can reshape the world order. This is not just a political rivalry, it's a clash of ideologies, of personalities, and of two nations on the verge of rewriting history. In 2025, global alliances crack, and the world economy teeters between inflation and instability. Trump's comeback has reignited the flame of American exceptionalism. Meanwhile, Modi stands at the peak of India's rise, commanding one of the fastest-growing economies on Earth, and a military more confident than ever before. The question is, when these two powerhouses collide, who really dominates the New World Order? The stage is global. America is still the world's most powerful nation, but its influence is no longer absolute. China's slowdown, Europe's decline, and Russia's isolation have opened up a massive geopolitical void, and only two democratic giants are left to fill it. Modi, the man who turned India into a manufacturing and diplomatic force. Trump, the man who wants to bring back America's dominance at any cost. Both know that the next 5 years will decide who controls global trade, technology, and energy. And both know that friendship can flip into competition overnight. Behind closed doors, world leaders are already choosing sides. The Middle East watches carefully, seeing Trump's potential return as a comeback of American hard power. But Modi's India is playing smarter. It's not picking sides anymore, it's creating them. The International Solar Alliance, the G20 presidency. The rise of the Global South, all of it signals a new reality where India leads conversations. That used to be dominated by Washington. Trump, however, sees this as a challenge. A subtle one, wrapped in diplomacy, but a challenge nonetheless. When Trump was last in power, his admiration for Modi was evident. "A great man," he said. "India's doing great things." But admiration can quickly turn into rivalry when global interests collide. If Trump wins again, his America First policy will push allies to choose between loyalty and independence. Modi, though, won't bow. India is now too powerful, too confident, and too essential to be anyone's junior partner. The world's fifth largest economy is becoming the backbone of global supply chains. Apple, Tesla, Boeing, all investing billions in Indian soil. The message is clear. India doesn't just want a seat at the table, it wants to design the table itself. In Washington, analysts whisper that the Modi factor is the one thing the U.S. can't control. For decades, India was seen as a balancing act between the West and Russia. But under Modi, India has rewritten its playbook. Buying Russian oil while partnering with the U.S. Navy. Training with France while negotiating arms with Israel. Investing in Iran while strengthening ties with Japan. For Trump, this unpredictability could be both a blessing and a threat. Because for every policy of America first, Modi answers with India first. Trump's strategy has always been direct. Use power to get results. Modi's strategy, in contrast, is subtle. Use diplomacy to create power. One uses the language of dominance, the other, the art of patience. But make no mistake, both men understand one universal rule of geopolitics. Respect comes from leverage. Trump's leverage lies in the US dollar, in military bases across the globe, in Silicon Valley's innovation. Modi's leverage lies in population, in markets, in influence across Asia and Africa, where India's soft power is quietly expanding. Bollywood, yoga, digital infrastructure, all instruments of global cultural dominance. And while both leaders project strength, their worlds operate on different philosophies. Trump thrives on disruption. Chaos is his weapon. He reshapes the global stage by breaking the rules, forcing negotiations through pressure and unpredictability. Modi, however, thrives on order, turning chaos into opportunity. His long-term vision, called Amrit Kaul, is about transforming India into a developed superpower by 2047. Trump talks about making America great again. Modi talks about making India unstoppable forever. In global summits, their presence is magnetic. Trump commands attention with confrontation. Modi commands respect with restraint. But when cameras stop rolling, power talks begin. Trump wants trade deals that protect us jobs. Modi wants trade routes that expand India's reach. Trump wants to curb China's expansion through economic warfare. Modi wants to box China in through regional alliances like Quad and partnerships across the Indo-Pacific. Different strategies, same target. The shadow of Beijing looms large over both their ambitions. And yet, there's an unspoken truth neither side admits. They need each other. America needs India as the democratic counterweight to China. India needs America's technology, markets, and strategic umbrella. But both leaders want this partnership on their own terms. That's where the tension brews in the space between cooperation and competition. The handshake may be warm, but the minds behind it are calculating. As 2025 unfolds, the world will watch the G7, the G20, and the UN General Assembly not as policy meetings, but as stages of personal rivalry. Every speech, every handshake, every bilateral agreement will be analyzed for dominance. Modi's charm diplomacy versus Trump's deal-making aggression. Both are storytellers and both know the narrative of leadership shapes global perception. When Trump says America is back, Modi counters with India has arrived. But history doesn't favor two suns in the same sky. Sooner or later, the question of dominance will erupt. Not through war, but through influence. Who will set global standards for technology, AI, and trade? Who will shape the next economic order? The answer may come not from Washington or Delhi, but from how nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America choose to align. Will they follow Trump's assertive capitalism or Modi's model of balanced sovereignty? The media will frame it as friendship. But geopolitics doesn't run on friendship. It runs on interest. Trump may invite Modi to grand summits, praise him in speeches. But when it comes to tariffs, oil imports, or defense procurement, the gloves will come off. And Modi, who's weathered storms from Beijing to Brussels, won't flinch. India has learned to play every side without losing its center. It's a new kind of non-alignment. Modern, calculated, and unapologetically self-serving. By the end of this decade, one of two things will happen. Either America and India will form the strongest democratic axis in history, reshaping the balance of power away from authoritarian regimes, or they will compete so fiercely that China quietly benefits from the divide. The world's attention is fixed on these two men because both represent something larger than politics. Trump represents the last stand of Western supremacy. Modi represents the rise of the global South. In the next few years, the world's headlines will no longer read us versus China. They will read India versus everyone, and Trump's America will have to decide stand beside India or stand against it. But beneath all the strategy and spectacle, the truth is personal. Both leaders are fighting time. Trump wants to reclaim his legacy to prove he's still the deal-maker of destiny. Modi wants to secure India's century, to leave behind a nation no longer seen as developing, but dominant. Two visions, two empires in motion. And one uncertain world watching every move. The battle for global dominance won't be fought on battlefields anymore. It will be fought in boardrooms, in data centers, in trade routes, and in the minds of billions. Modi and Trump stand as symbols of that transformation. Not enemies, not allies. Just two forces of history colliding in slow motion. And when the dust settles, the question won't be who was stronger, but whose story the world chose to believe.